We are discussing on this series what a software engineer's day-to-day job looks like. And in the previous video, we have discussed about what is design and architecture. So in this video, we'll be discussing more about coding and implementation. So in designing an architecture, once you have created the roadmap of what we are going to do further. So once those criteria are set, once those expectations are set, they are converted into small chunk of tasks. So you can pick up those tasks and start working on them. So maybe you have picked up one task for creating the user interface, maybe a single button in this case. So we were taking example of an e-commerce site and we were talking about a cart. What things you can think of that can be present in a cart? There might be several front end elements like the product itself, the picture of the product, the description of the product, the price, the continue button, and several other elements. So how these things will be implemented, they are already set. So you do have the knowledge of the right kind of tools in hand, and there may be a framework, there may be a language or whatever, but you should have the knowledge of that. So once you start your implementation, they are a useful tool for you, so you use those tools to build this. And let's take an example of that card itself. So might be you are picking up a language and you start to implement on top of that, and maybe a framework like React. And once you start working on that, you like write your code, you test it on your local system, and once you are done with that, you push it to a code repository. So why we are pushing it to a code repository is because we do have to store those codes somewhere. So once those code which are in your, I would say, in your version, it would be it would be very different from what it is there already, which is in production or a live environment that the customer is using. So it's very wrong thing to just suddenly push your code into the main code and let the user see the changes all of a sudden. That's not how it works actually. So what you create is a branch, a separate branch of yours, and you push your code into that branch, and you let the other developers in your team review that code. So they might be reviewing a lot of best practices. They might be reviewing if is your code written in a clean manner, you have written proper comments, and your logic is optimal, it doesn't require any optimization further. So those things are taken care by the entire team, and they may request you to change some code, and that can be a bit longer. Like some code reviews can take like a week or so. And once that process is completed, you will be moved towards testing. So testing side, there would be a quality assurance engineer who would be responsible for testing it in an intermediate environment. So the tester is responsible for deploying it into a intermediate environment, test it. Maybe the guy can manually test some elements. Maybe the guy can write some automated tests already to test those features. And once it's approved from the tester sites itself, it can further go for a release. So what the release would look like, so we do already have one version deployed in a live environment where the customers are using it directly. So once you combine your branch with the main branch, it's like a merge that is happening. So once it is merged, the effects are not immediately visible on a live environment. So what we have to do in here is to deploy the new version. So once you deploy the new version, the changes are rolled out in quick fashion, and it doesn't actually hampers the user flow. Rather, it will be a very fast change that would happen in the environment, and this rollout would be like would not be affecting the customers very much if we are planning it in a proper time, and if it is done in a proper fashion. So this is how coding and implementation works, which is a time consuming process. And time consuming is where the code review happens and the testing happens, because we cannot allow bad code to be there on the main branch as well as going to the live environment, right? So yeah, this is what coding looks like.